Good morning, or whatever it is, wherever you are. So I took more or less this command and put that into a db command for this. I also ran the upload of all of the data. Took a couple of hours. I guess it wasn't too bad for what it was. And I think I've done one update since then. That there's been some more data since then that might be useful for testing other imports. Although probably going to have to use a small file with just updating for testing. One of the things I want to look at is, since I've got this thing, do a little bit of poking at, well, at least the backup saving process. So and then restoring that might be faster than a full reload if that comes to it. And it's been a little while since I did that. It's 9.1. I don't know if it's changed any. Yeah, I think it's using SQL. PG dump. It's restoring only a single database. Large databases. I don't think it's going to be that large, but it's still going to be kind of big. Compressed dumps. Oh, pipe through gzip. I mean, we might end up having to transfer it. I'm not sure what it's going to be like on the other end. All right, so PSQL minus H. Presumably, it's going to have similar arguments to this. Also, the question of where would a file go? And then you also want a DB name, which OHOL data server development, probably. And let's see if that works. I don't really know what that is. Of course, since it's redirected, I don't get to see any interactive output to see if it's working. Oh, I thought there was something about this and I forgot about it. Tables can be restored selectively. Okay, so it's not a script, it's a PG restore. But it's still a output on this end. Now, we really only have one table right now, so multiple tables isn't going to help. So the problem with this is I can't tell if it's doing anything. I guess I can see there's a file there. There's a file, it's empty. Hey Dragon, how's it going? Oh, it's got something in it now. Password. Well, since that's an interactive prompt. Ooh. Okay, admittedly, I'm doing really good at social isolating. What holidays? I do tend to forget about a lot of them. Let's see. We still need that. We do minus help. Oh, it's still PG dump. Well, I guess we actually care about those arguments. Minus W or minus password. Now that's forced password prompt. Maybe I would have to... It's autumn holiday. Ah, okay. Yeah. I almost asked where were you and what holiday. Autumn holidays. Yeah, I mean, if it's another country, I might not have ever heard of it. I mean, if you talk about autumn holidays here, that would probably be Thanksgiving and Halloween. But it's just because they happen to fall in that season. It's not a particular thing. And we still got a month and 2 months for those. Okay. Oh, you know what? What you see every once in a while, it's now October, and what you do see every once in a while is people talking about Oktoberfest. So maybe it's part of that. I oftentimes see that with a kind of German theme on it, particularly referring to the German beer part. So it is writing the password prompt to stand out. Just a myth. Okay. Yeah, I kind of it kind of felt like that. But it had that weird spelling. It's like, oh, it's derived from a foreign word. So I thought it might have had at least some root in something there, or something real. PG Pass. October Party, yeah. How does that work on Windows? Export PG password. Now, actually, there was something about that in the Docker file too. It's already compressed. Oh, there's environment Postgres password. Defines the super user password in the there's no effect on the PG password. Maybe use one PSO runtime. So let's see the command we were copying. We were still at Docker options. Which would be before here. And we had another vote for compressed format. Yeah. So database, user. Okay, back to 0. Everybody ready to accept connections? We haven't got anything from you yet. Oh, we have data. It seems to be doing something. Now, the database size reported on Heroku console was like 5 gigabytes. This is a compressed format. I'm not sure if that was the compressed size or total size, or what the compression ratio is. As far as what we could expect as a progress on that. Oh. Okay, so 5 gigabytes compresses to about 400. Cool. All right, this is another command we're going to want to have reference to. Oop, that's not a Vim buffer. So what are the traditional activities of autumn holidays? Anything special, or is it just days off? All right, so got that. I should probably make sure that the local server is working before we start messing with stuff. Oh, maybe web isn't in file.dev actually. Because that's one we could actually be using on Heroku. Yep, it started something. Okay, doesn't seem to have failed. Are you 8,000? No, you're 5,000 because that's what Foreman uses. Okay, yeah, it's just Rails, and then we have something like servers gives us the server list. Let's see, what would, and I've forgotten all my queries. Life search, impact player chain. Period. Does that mean it actually changed how it works on here? Params period, duration new. Okay, that goes from the end. Hey, LazyCon. Every quarter year, a few weeks of holiday. Autumn are 2, winter 4, Easter 3, summer 6. There's no real tradition. Okay. It's just kind of like spring break in around here. I mean, I think that may have had some origin in when more people were farming based. You know, letting the kids go help planting and stuff, but now it's just a break. I want to try out some restructurings of my life database. Because in my new provider, I should not have a row number limit, so that gives me more freedom to create other tables without worrying about running out. But right now, I have never really run the database server on this computer, so I'm still kind of, you know, shaking off the dust and rebuilding stuff. Was it just period? Is that one format? No, it must not be that format. Okay. Oh, it's an ISO duration. So it must not be that. Yeah, I didn't have anything to read me. Didn't have anything test. What am I generating? Let's see. So the kind of thing I'm thinking of would be a now before. Let's see. Oh, it's starting to get us something. Oh, this is actually just calculating start and end times. I'm no longer even using that format, am I? Yeah, I dabbled with Python for a while. I don't know if there was anything in particular that threw me off of it. It just those projects ground out, and I ended up doing other things. Do I have any leftover code? Oh. I maybe shouldn't have done that. Let's see. So what is the problem here? Oh, no, figured it out. Let this be map UI. Where do we make the queries? Or is that, would that be something in a whole data? Let's decode. Fix up start time. http.get fetch servers. Fetch spans, fetch objects. Okay, that wasn't quite what I expected. What are my returns? Matching lives. It's sort of that. Leaflet display. Oh, this is the return. I need to know what sends this. Fetch matching lives. Oh yeah, that's matching. Fetch lineage. Fetch recent lives? Ah, okay. Period, blah, 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 blah. So period 2 hours? No. Relative start time is just going to be a straight up POSIX to millis. Yeah, I think period is a thing I kind of stopped using. ISO 8601. Yeah. Hour designated follows number of hours. 23 days. Oh, I might still need a T. Okay, so that would be like the last 2 hours of birth. Which, it would be birth, so we're not going to have death information. That makes sense. Okay, so I think we've basically checked that out. So, one of the things we're thinking of doing, and these last couple might not have names. In fact, we don't tend to have names for very old people at all. or for very new people, because the names, I think they get buffered a lot, not written out at long shipping time. So one of the things I was thinking about is there's a couple ways to do names. The sort of obvious way is you pull it out separate, and then you say, okay, this is the player this name is for. One thing I was thinking about is you probably do have repeated names. So you could go the other way and give the player record a pointer to a name, which was deduped. I guess the thing to answer there would be how many duplicates do we have? This might actually be easier for me to do in SQL syntax, because we'd have to do life dot group by name. Yeah, I'm not sure how to do the count of a group there. Actually, isn't there like a database console? DB console. That just sort of logs in for you. Oh, but it needs the client, which we don't have. Okay. What we found out before is we could do that. No, actually, this would not work well in there, and a console might not work well in here either. I might want a shell for this because it's a little bit annoying, or a script for this because it's a little bit of an annoying command. All right, are we in the right place? Ration lives do not exist. No, we are not. Is it Q? Can we say minus U Postgres? Is it like D Postgres? No, not Postgres. OHOL data server development database serve. Okay, we are in the right database. So what we want is select name. This is still going to be way too many rows. What I really want is like the max count. That's a having, perhaps? Count as Semicolon. Column name, oh, from lives. Column n does not exist. Okay, I guess in this language we have to repeat expressions. Aban. Oh, Aban with no last name. Oh, this is not sorted. This is just all the ones that have. Uh, can I sort this as well? Oh no, it's order by. And I might have to do descending. Yeah, so, and really, we get into the hundreds. Is it desk? Okay, well, there's blank. Oh, nope. Hope beat Aban. So there is a fair bit of duplication there. I don't know if it's enough that it really matters space-wise. What does our import look like for this? Let's set lineage. Patch lineage. Load log. Okay, we're building up a record. Unduplicate ignore. Birth data, death data, load names. So load names is like a separate process. Name logs at first. And then we are importing into lives. Are we doing... Where are we getting this stuff? Server ID, namelog.player ID. Okay. Key columns plus account hash. Wait, was that it? Server ID, epoch player ID. That stuff we could all kind of figure out just from the name list. It's account hash. Non-duplicate key. I might be including that so that we're considering no account hash known for a new record as a potential conflict target. Oh no, account hash. Okay, so this is account hash. So that's the list of things. So key column, server epoch, player ID. Name only is the account hash as a temporary, so it doesn't match, and we can clear those out. So this is saying update or insert, but if we didn't update anything, clear it out. So we're trying to find matching records. So the pure import version of this would be we'd want server ID, epoch, player ID, name. And it would just be kind of dumping data in, and if it matches, it matches. It makes the import easy. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, that is slightly more than half, not having any name at all. If I had to see, so this style of import could probably handle, you know, insert if not exist style things. Or we just do a check for exist first. We would then have to use this information. And it's more back and forth because you have to get the assigned IDs and then go update the lives. All right, well, I want to take a short break. I'll be back in a little bit. Whoa, that was a little bit of a close call. Gotta watch those.
Why are you following me, Daddy?
Thank you for the follow, Daddy Dom. That felt so weird.
You don't get surrounded.
Come and get. Run him through. Right down.
Here we go. Long road ahead. Final customer. Let's do it.
Let's show him our dedication to service.
Meters filled to burst.
You.
It's always good to save regularly.
Wait, where's the boat? Wait, what? So, this is disappointing. The boat was a tease, and isn't actually stopping? I didn't even think boats could come and not stop. Like, why is it even coming?
We got 2 people recently chatting all together. Oh, I guess we could count Lord still, but like, it's cutting short. Don't you dare. That is my fireball. You suck! You suck! You suck! Someone clip that. I'm gonna report him for attempted team grief. Not to mention hitting my fireball. Hi, Lysium. Lysium says hi. She's probably saying that to the chat. So, whatever. Or
Welcome back. Let's see. Also, what kind of fix-ups have I done? Well, this is below fix-ups. We patched lineage, which should really only be operating within there. We've patched killer, which is all ID stuff. So if we make a table that's just the names, and we go ahead and use an internal ID for that, because we'll never surface it. I'm pretty sure I have... do I have a schema document? Yeah, I do. Did dump it at some point. So lives. The table ID might be implicit. Actually, to the server connecting reset. Okay. Maybe it's limit. Okay, there is an arbitrary internal database ID. So I think a names table would just be name. Let's see, where are our other create lifelog files? Yeah, only that stuff. All right, it's been a little bit since I worked on this. No, it's generate migration. Create names. And we're just going to have a name string, I think. Create table name, string name. What do I want to do to this? Add name index. The extension might already be enabled. This was name on lives. Is that part of add index lives? This is a slightly different setup. Oh, it will almost certainly work like this. Index name on names. So creating the table and putting data into it, or simply creating it, doesn't do anything else. And I think I would have to come back later to get the IDs to put into lives anyway. Although this does kind of imply that we're going to add the index to lives as well. Let's see, and this was in a change block before, so I can probably figure out remove index, hopefully. So that's create table. We would want to add a column. Add name index, add index, expand seed column. That's a change column with an explicit up and down. Add lineage to lives. So add column, it gives it an index. Let's see, does name... That's a triplet index. If we had found a life by name, no, migrate, create life log files, create lives. Actually, the primary key should have an index on it. Well, that's going to be like a name ID. In some cases, having an index on there would be helpful. That might be a thing to try some queries and actually see if an index matters. So there's our name search. Hopefully being a denser table will help a little bit. That one was a triplet index, that mattered. Is integer the right type? I don't remember if there's a specific type for IDs. Oh, add foreign key. So there's a helper for that. Foreign EI. And that suggests it is table. Relation name does not exist. Okay, I guess. Oh, it's this one it's complaining about. Because that's the table name, not the field name. Column name ID does... Okay, so we have to add the column first. Then we can specify... Oh, this is a foreign key constraint. Okay. Wait. New foreign key to the author ID column of the articles table. So this would actually be names lives. It's a new, well, this says foreign key, so maybe it has to go this way? Well, no, foreign key to the author ID column of. And I think it's just integer. Is there a types of schema dumps type? Is there anything, is it just integer for foreign keys? There's a join table. Well, there's create join table, what does it all for us? Get a user ID, add reference, products, user, foreign key, true. Oh, it's add reference. Okay. Which actually, that foreign key true. All right, so table name, lives, names. We're not saying it's not null, so probably still isn't required to be there. I think. Get a user ID and the appropriate index. Now, we'll give this a shot, but maybe I should just put this off to their step. This is why we're failing on all these runs. Okay, I didn't complain about it currently being null. All right, then we've got a kind of database, actual data migration that could be a job. Maybe that would be better as an import task. Because it's not really an up-down migration thing. You would have to take some care with the migrations themselves to take it by the appropriate steps and do that data migration. Okay. So we would like to get all unique names and insert them all unique not null names insert them into the names table. I might still be able to use import for that. Because that is a bulk insert. To any of my other migrations, add name to index, it's just an index. Create monuments, create names. And there's not too many more. Recent life indexes. Oop. Oh, nope, that was it. Serve ID, birth time, death time. Index. Yeah, I don't think I did any of that before. Let's see, so all that's going to have to change. That was all life stuff. This was run through rake tasks. Update lineage, patch killer. That ends up running update. So I guess lives ends up running names. And then test, where we were specifically choosing certain files to do focus testing of stuff. All right, so it's going to be a two-step process. So one step is create the name table. The other step is map it back to the index in lives. Then we have to then we have both. We can attempt to update queries and see how that goes. I mean, this is really only copy names at this point. The migration is when we drop it. What the heck is our modular setup right now? So import lives. We're in 2 levels in. So it might be something smaller like this. Or smaller like this. So I think it'll be blue. Or it might be somewhat on the scale of this. So what other things are we concerned about here? Well, we've got files to deal with. I got epochs to deal with. And this will all be an issue when we're importing the new format names. So we need to get... Oh, that's right, I kept doing active record stuff, but I was actually trying to switch over to SQLite. Oh, right, because my import plugin is still active record. So, what are we doing? We are... and does this work? Find, not DB. Okay. Oop. Lives. We want... How do you do this? It's going to be something like SQL.not. Apparently not. Oh? Wait, undefined for SQL module, yeah. I've never completely understood some of the organization. Connection to a database, transactions, SQL for SQL users. It's going okay. A little hard to get out of bed this morning. How about you? Okay, this is like just straight up database statements. Dot lit. It's pretty much just me. I mean, there was one time when Jason sort of mentioned that he was kind of blind as far as how Eves were spawning and players were developing. And so I was certainly interested in doing some charting work there. And that was back when I was still doing, before we had the map proper, I think. It was sort of just data processing and static graphs. But yeah, I'm not one of those people he calls when he has questions. Well, okay. He DM'd me once when he was adding the lineage links to the lineage page for the family trees. That was a little bit of collaboration. The strings aliasing. Yeah, this is not the mod. This is the backend services for the life data on the maps right now. Not equal operator. Actually, anything special for is not null. Is not null. Column is null. Where does that argument go? Oh, where we have curly brackets? No, this is the back end to the map. So when you search lives, it's all coming from a database that has imported all of the life logs. And that database is approaching the row limit on my current provider, after which the price goes up considerably for larger plans. So I'm looking at moving it elsewhere, and with that row limit removed, I'm not constrained by that row limit. So I can consider doing other things that add rows without, because right now I was kind of reserving that row number for all just the lives themselves, so you kind of had to have everything in a single row. So now I am considering alternate structures at the moment, having the names be separate, since not everyone has a name. In fact, less than half of all lives have had a name from the looks of things. Many of those were before names were even a thing. And then, the rest are SIDS and whatnot for the most part. All right, where? So if we do this. We need to be not. And then that's... Okay, and in that syntax... well, the life logs weren't available right away, but yes, the reason we're running into row limits is because it is everything. If you go back to server, an extra fun one is 3. 13 hours. I mean, we'll just, wow. I think this is based on life logs. It's actually hard to tell. Oh, the image doesn't get faded. Uh-oh, I've got a layering problem. This didn't used to be an issue, I don't think. I need to get this image below the fade, if not the lives. So, yeah, nobody has a name. And a lot of people died young. So I guess I have to put that down as another thing to fix. Yeah, let's see. Does count just execute? Yep, that's 8 million lives. Yeah, so I guess that's actually not the best example because we've got that issue. Oh, that's right. I was going to look at OHOL map, my notes. Um, that's issue. All right. I'm actually wondering if thinking that server 1 may have had a slightly different start time. Yeah, so we've had a lot of different spawning patterns. Early on, it was kind of just a random walk all over the place. Yeah, so we already had Arctic by the time that this started recording live. Actually, I think, is the server 3... He had different color schemes, so it's hard to tell. So that's 3.5. 3.8. Yeah? It looks like server 3 actually got some stuff that... Because server 1 has had some crashes now and then. So this is actually... Let's see, how about like server 2? Wouldn't have that alternate color scheme going on. Yeah, so this is actually before Arctic. I feel like there were a couple of semi-stable spawn points here. Huh. Maybe it only moved it sometimes. I didn't really follow the updates back then. So where's that? Zoom 23. Yeah. So these days actually no, Zoom 23. This is usually about the level I'm looking at our current layouts on. So I guess that's comparable. No, one day before. Usually looking for like a day's worth. Well, that reset because we weren't focused in the right spot. So that's comparable zoom level. For the kind of scatter we were looking at before. Yeah, I'm looking specifically at changing the data now. I could arrange to just change the database and do a new import, since I am changing providers, but I kind of want to be able to baby step it and have things that are working all the way through. Yeah, actually that's a little funny. Not column. Okay, yeah. So of those 8 million, only 3.7 have names. So I want all of the names where it's not null, and I want So would this be following select like syntax? DB lives where. Not you're doing an update. So it would probably go where. Could we? Is it group or group by? Oh, group and count. See, so they've got a thing for that. Thanks for the bits. Order by, I don't know that one. Okay, so this doesn't have SQL.functions. Where's your group by? Dataset basics? Oh, select group maybe? But modified data sets. Select all, select more. Oh, group. I might have to look up the raw docs on that. So there's your straight up group by. Oh, also referencing select group. So what is that gonna be? Dataset? Sets both the select and group clause to the given columns. Select group, select AB from items, group by AB. Oh, right, because you have to reference the things you're grouping by and the things you're selecting. We are, in fact, selecting the names in this one. Find method select group. And of the people that are named, there are kind of close to half as many unique names. All right, so that's how we select all of the unique names. So if it was straight up SQL, could you do that as would there be a statement that's like insert from select? Probably. Insert SQL? Turn and insert SQL string. Relating to SQL creation. Insert. Insert AB, oh, DB, old items. Select star from old items. But that's just a DB. So could we do insert into names name? So that would be the list of all names. Now, I think select group is actually... No, that's returning a statement. We'll have to do like a 2A or something on it. DB names. Well, I do actually want to be testing out my import here. I mean, I guess this is well, if I just do an insert, then that's something you would not want to duplicate. The import has a way to detect, and that does updates. Oh, I wonder if I should have a unique constraint on that. CSDB rollback. Migrate. Roll back the last migration. Okay, so it looks like that one is not reversible. Since we already had it installed, that made sense. Migrate names. All right, so this is unique, distinct. That's validates. Is it unique? Can I make a column unique? Well, and index it. Add index. Well, unique true. Oh, that's add index. So does that work for this? Does not support unique indexes. Okay, well, I could add a second index just to force uniqueness. Assuming you can have multiple indexes. Index name on names. Kind of a shame. All right, that will prevent us from doing any oopsies. So in order to use this import method, which different import, or it's all on duplicate key ignore. So that would actually have no key columns. Active record import. Import. Okay. So if books is an array of active record objects, and I don't even think I was using active record objects in here. Births. That looks like it might be just in a straight up arrays. Common columns, death columns. Yeah, in fact, it is just straight up arrays. We can also use arrays of arrays. And we just have to specify which columns we're putting in. Import columns values. So we would say, we would have to actually download all of the names to use the bulk import, whereas this would be a SQL statement. Assuming that this works, db, actually, can I get, there was the insert SQL statement. Of course, I've lost the context where I had this now. Yeah. Okay, so that gives me, that gives me SQL for it. Inserts the values. There was insert SQL. So insert DB. So insert with the columns we want to insert, and I think we could substitute DB insert SQL name. Insert into names name, select name from lives where name is not null, group by name. This will only do an insert. It would fail if there was a duplicate. So it's not something you could rerun. I guess I could, once I have linkages established, well, this is just the name field. We could do a, where name is not null and name not in select name from names if we have to redo it. All right, with that, I just got a wrap from the copy. All right, so the straight up copy. Is that, and we can just comment that out if we go to a second stage here. Rails. Did I just give that what I think? Of course, I put no feedback in here. Nope, it's not. This is not a SQL console. Okay. Oh, that was, I still had insert SQL in there. Does insert return anything? Insert examples does not document a return value. Oh, statement, create index. Okay, so it's not doing regular queries. Okay, that's what we expected to see. Step 2. We need to update. Let's see. Well, we can probably construct a straight up SQL statement for this. DB lives. Let's see, before we were doing, for the killer update, it was we select our set, and then update blah, 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 blah. And I believe we did have the name ID. How do we associate between two tables? This is a single table. That's kind of a single pass, single value thing. Little tired. Probably stayed up too late the other night. And had a bit of an allergy. Had a bit of allergies yesterday. So far, it's not too bad today. What would this look like in SQL? Update names. Set name equal lives.name. No, update lives. Set name ID equals name ID. where select name from select name. See, we're going to get the name ID. Select name from names where ID equals life name ID. Something like that. Does that translate to SQL? That would be an update on lives. Can I use a statement? Yep. It's... I don't know. I don't really know if there's any defining differences between them. I kind of fell into it because that's what Heroku uses, and I've done a couple things on Heroku, including the first version of this. Oh, can I do the cross-reference here? Because I have to be able to reference the column from the other statement. Maybe I can do that with symbols? And can we do update SQL? Someone could do insert SQL. Where name is equal to, and this is where we have to do some kind of quoting, I think. The cross-reference. So there's straight up just do a statement. Each R. There's db.literal. Table.column. Okay, so they've got an extension for that. Where name is lives.name. And this is a Ruby wrapper on Postgres. Postgres is pretty much standard. I mean, every database has its own little flavor, but it's kind of standard SQL. So that's the where clause. I guess we need to select name. So that's DB names. Select name ID. Well, actually, just be ID for you. Undefined method name for lives. Now, did it define that, or does it we not have the symbol extension loaded? Okay, it does recognize that's a many to a binary. Rescue and IRB binary. Undefined method name for lives. Did I mistype it twice? Name for live symbol. Okay, it doesn't have the extension set up. This is the language Ruby. It's the framework Rails, which is kind of overkill for what I'm doing, and I've pondered if I should replace it sometime. Because it was originally set up for, static, server-generated HTML websites. And they've done a lot to try and deal with more modern things, but I'm using it as a pretty basic API server. I'm not dealing with user logins. I'm not dealing with really a whole lot of fancy concerns. So it's kind of overkill. So it's Postgres because it was on Heroku. The server is running on Heroku. I'm looking at doing I think it's Amazon RDS is the new one, which could be economical if I prepay. We still have to see how all this stuff works out. Yeah, and then the front end for this app, well, there's technically two. There's a Elm app, and then there is a one that's mixed Elm and JavaScript because it's using the leaflet library. And then there's still a lot of JavaScript integrating with that. So we do not have that extension set up. And that will not work. So we can do SQL. Update live, set name ID equals select ID from names, where name equals lives.name. Oops. Nice. All right, dbd.lives, update, name ID. This is a subquery. Once again. I guess I could actually use intermediate variables for those. Oh, this actually does have a cross-reference. Live websites. Well, I mean, the thing I'm working on now has one instance here. Where, I forgot what my last Eve name was. I think there was a Polydonna. So that used the name search to look up and then to pull all of the data. And this is mostly being generated, well, the graph is being generated server side and then it's being displayed client side. And then do I still have this one up? Which I'm using the database for this stuff, and then I'm doing like more static processing for all of the map placement data. So a lot of the map stuff is JavaScript, and then all of this UI is in Elm. So that is the database server lookups. You can search for name in a very similar manner. And then there's some data formatting options. Oh, and that one. And then I've got a bunch of other things. I need to redo my websites proper sometimes. The schedule from videos, so that is what I use for my little schedule. It's also available as a Twitch extension panel. So that's what I use for making my not super regular schedule accessible. There is it, yeah, stream credits, which, just in case. Yep, it was already set up. I use it as an OBS. Actually, I use it as an OBS source too. And then this one I actually use when exiting. Just hits the API and looks at a bunch of stuff. Unfortunately, it suffers from the new Twitch API where you have to relog in every 2 months. So those are all, these are pretty much Elm, with a few port interface things. And I think there's a few more. I have to remember them all. Oh yeah, hosting clips. Yeah, so I have to hit this every once in a while, just in case. That's another OBS source I use when going on break. This one's muted. Well, it would be, except I used to be doing a WordPress thing there, and I got tired of... I fell behind in updates, and now it's actually gotten to the point where the standard web hosting service that I'm on has upgraded the server, or the PHP version, past what supports that version of WordPress, and I started doing a Jekyll conversion and have never quite finished it. It's one of those things I should do, but it's never... I can never quite focus in on it. Column name ID, relation lives. Ooh. Did I... Okay. How do I actually get the fields for that? Because I thought I included that in the migration. Wonder if it's names ID? Maybe I don't have a translation rule for that? ID server. Yep, it's names ID. Is that something in my migration? Add reference lives. Would that have to be... Well, Rails uses... translation rules. It's always been a little bit funny. As long as we know how that's working, it's fine. Hmm. So just the sheer number of rows here is still causing some of this stuff. Maxwell, well. I mean, a lot of the Twitch API stuff is all front end, which avoids having to set up the back end infrastructure. So I guess it's the maintenance side of that that I tend to try and avoid. I can get into like reporting type stuff on databases though. Filtering data down and trying to make sense of it. I guess it's mostly what do I need to do to accomplish some goal. Hmm. Well, that would not be surprising. Can you put it in your name? Is there a particular kind of film you like? And I am not a film lover, so I can't exactly empathize much. I mostly tended to do movies as a social thing. You know, if there are people going, I'd go. I haven't had a whole lot of social circles for a while. Not Blackfish? Was that a bad film? Now you see, I'm so out of touch. I don't even know what that means. Default min max unit megabyte. Restart. Oh, you don't have to restart. Okay. Full treatment of marine life. And if it crash recovery, only be set in Postgres conf or on the server command line. Oh. Recommendations, except for databases that write more than 1 KB an hour, in which case increase the size of the logs. That's at least an hour worth of logs. Well, 4 seconds apart is a lot less than an hour. I mean, maybe those aren't the same units. Postgres image. Oh, Docker entry point. Okay, so C-Films is the tool. Do something in Seattle. Okay. Just musician athletes. And some surrounding things. Oh, and this can be is this the okay, that's to change it. So this is the sort. That's to change it. Okay. Or oh, by title, by year. So those are links. It's not actually a dynamic resort. Okay. So this is going to be a different page by runtime, by total gross. There's going to be more. Yeah, and this is very straightforward. So I'm assuming it's kind of mobile optimized, which is not something I'm always thinking about. Depends on the app. Like the map is just not going to be not going to be all that mobile friendly. Yeah, basic information portal. Okay, so that's done. Not, exec not found. Takes parameters you should admit Postgres in the command sequence. Default Postgres Docker image. Command. That's for compose stuff. Where's my server command? No, that is procfile.dev. Oh. Well, that works with that. So, well, it was 1 gigabyte. All right, so that's running in the container. It gets that, it shuts down. It's not complaining about anything yet. Oh, except that we're gonna have to reconnect. I don't know if we can do that. So we should have. Let's see. Our first one probably is not going to have a name ID. Where this is a not nil again. Well, if we count the ones that are nil, that'll still tell us something. That is not all of them. I think that's about the right number, too. So now, what does this do to our queries? Mm-hmm. Ah, yeah. Seattle, not C. This, may as well test it more useful. So I know there is life search. Server name, server name, server name. Okay, account hash is the one I might want to be moving. So this is result is a query. This now requires a merge, unfortunately, which actually this is where we might want to do a little bit of light testing. Yeah, the website's been down for a while. That kind of makes sense. So I would want one of these. I guess the other one, that one would be lighter. Do I even have that set up here? How are we family tree viewer? I don't currently have that set up here. So that should already be relatively well set up. What do I do? Do we have like a config? Localhost 5000. O. Where's my server? Not receive data from server. Oh, this thing had a database reset. Man, I just don't know how to think about that. Is it just running? All right, what do we got? We got Postgres docs. We've got dump. Got the image. That's one of the things we were looking for earlier. Done with you. Column unique. Active record import. Yeah, unable to connect. So it hasn't actually started yet. What are you? And this looks kind of like when we don't have a valid task and it just does nothing. But I just ran this, and we did get something. Do I have to reset the database again? There's like lingering connection or something? Do I have to exit from these terminals? Maybe. Okay, so that's working. Ah. Okay. I probably need to fix that query so it's not quite so... Yeah, it's saying it's slow. It doesn't have the stat here. Timings, waiting, 525 milliseconds. 536 milliseconds. Well, that gives us something to go off of. It's definitely not a scientific performance measure. So what are we going to do here? So we've got query. So this is going to have to be not just aware. Oh, this is an order clause. Okay, well that's going to be a problem. Maybe. So where query matches name. This has to be, we have to merge the table. Actually, we need to merge the table regardless. Because right now we are currently always returning the name, and that's something I might want to think about separately. db.lives.where match blah 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 blah. Would this be join? SQL.join method can all of the elements in an array. That's a different kind of join. Dataset basics. Group having from. I need the docs on those though. Querying. Modifying. Expressions. Ordering. Grouping. Joins. Join table. So let's start from albums, inner join artists. Join table, inner artists, ID, artist ID. Oh, album dot. So this is using the slightly object syntax. Wouldn't call join table directly, signifies shortcuts for all common and most uncommon join types. Join does an inner join if we're looking up lives. Name ID should map 1 to 1. There's only one name ID. There should be only one match in the name table because we tried to make everything unique. Dot join names. And do I pick values to pick here with something? Or is this just a data set? We would run into the problem with 2 ID columns. All right, Q equals name, limit blah, 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 blah. Syntax error. Is it like a syntax error in the SQL? Query.select. Near where line Result equals result equals result equals result equals. Where is my Rails console? Too many windows. Error. Oh no, this is actually okay. So the database is saying it's a syntax error. Birth. Oh, I'm probably selecting inner join names. Yeah, they've both got a name. Oh, is that the where? Inner join names where? I probably need to specify which name. That's not, I wouldn't call that a syntax error, though. When we drop the other name column, that won't be as much of an issue. Still saying syntax error. I can understand logical errors, but why is it a syntax error? Yes, that's the dump. Lives does not exist. Did I not? Oh, I did not put it into here. Development. There's probably a way to do that here. Okay, that's the wrong kind of help. Where's my console help? That's where that was in there. And we're going to be only interested in records. Oop, I didn't want everything. All right, so the thing we sent was specifically doing the inner join blah blah blah. Oh, maybe it's expecting an on statement and it's not generating that for us. Okay, so it's not that smart. Oh, he was probably doing the example was through the object, which does know that. So to clear this is a syntax error. We would want to say inner join names on ID equals names ID. I might just specify ID. Column reference ID is ambiguous. Okay. So this join table is the two columns. Was it specifying both tables? Inner. Oh, no, inner actually isn't what I want here. I think, well, left is what we pretty much always use. But is that a table joining in? No, it's still the join condition. Artist ID. No implicit conversion of symbol to integer? So there's join, alias of inner join, type table ops, join table type table expert. That seems different. Maybe I misread some of their documentation. db.joinTables, blah, 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 blah. A cross join B. Select star from B. As T1 on I did misread it. Can you even do that? Well, it was a hash. That's a different way of saying hash. Remember, if its name is ambiguous, that's... so I'm selecting the field, but currently we do have double in there. Can I deal with that outside? Self.fields. How does this work? Names.name does not exist. I might have to look at something like... this. So it came out as... this says... okay, there has to be something funny going on here. So is this an SQL error? PG undefined column. Oh, the quoting, they did say the quoting was wrong, though. Do I have to do something special for that? So I've been getting my select statement. Point presenter response. Let's see where that's from. Self.response. So we've been passing through a query and then saying... query select these fields, but we were single table before. How do we specify the proper value of that? And do we use this multiple times? This does not use it multiple times, so we could do a... was it SQL? Maybe. Okay, so that is... and do we take our sword off? No. Polydonna got us Natalie Donna. Well, I did an arbitrary limit, but that doesn't leave as much room for sorting. We did get a query done. And once the other name column gets removed, this will no longer be ambiguous. Okay, so can we do that? That's why we didn't get sorting. Okay, name is ambiguous. Word similarity query name. Have to do this again for a little bit. And then we have a better match. Okay. Then the question is... I guess this would still give me this stuff. Oh, the primary page doesn't appear in the network view. Oh no, I'm on XHR. Timing. And the other was an XHR request, not a... Can we throw that back real quick? Well, all of these things change. Life search. Can't even see my field. I'm not sure if that's actually an issue or not. Because that is technically a different scenario. Oh! It actually did make it faster. We're searching a smaller table. Yeah, we're comparing apples to apples. I mean, this is limit 1, but it's the same query. So the name searches will be faster. That's good. I don't know if it'll help any of the other stuff. We won't be asking to retrieve the name field from the lives in the result. And maybe we can do some other refactorings there as well. Point presenter. So the only thing left to do is drop the names from the lives, and I'm questioning whether I want to do a checkpoint before doing that. Well, let's make sure this works. Once again. Oh, it was all a lie. Now, did I, like, forget to change something back? Names, names. Oh. Yeah, this is the whole unscientific. Because for some reason we got 300 milliseconds on one of those. Maybe even a couple consecutive ones. Oh. So it actually is searching in that bigger table. Where there are multiple instances of the names, possibly. So that's where the win is. Doing this on a smaller set. All right, so here the actor. Okay, so the dump. Where's my get ignore? Okay, so we do have a new migration. I did a little bit in the documentation file, not really enough. Name will hopefully be temporary. Oh, and putting out a result SQL. And that was a debugging thing. Oh, the other thing we haven't done that we cannot necessarily remove the other names just yet is that I've not done data import. In fact, where did I leave import? Yeah, so if we were to actually run this to port our other data, we want to do both of those. And this is not an incremental update thing, so we couldn't be like running it on other stuff. I'd have to dump the entire names table and rebuild it. So the other thing we need before we can confidently delete our other names is a process during import that will not depend on the life names, for one. Actually, is there any other... There's our graph presenter, which also has a name. We haven't run that one yet. There might be others. Server presenter, don't need monument. Compact point presenter. I don't remember what I used that for. So we need another temporary change to you to keep it working. I wonder if it's searching the dump file. I guess I really need to test that. So what, where's our route file? Oh, that is drawing the trees. Yep, so it didn't like that. So what's that query? Oh, this might be a completely different search. I wasn't even quite ready to do that yet. Is that a graph controller? No. It'll still be lives. No, you're a point presenter. Oh, it's family trees. Family trees controller. So that was the full HTML version. We are doing a lineage search. Well, so far, the only things we've had to change... actually, this doesn't have a name search. We just have to have the join in there for the name. Okay, so it looks like we do that. No. Are these other queries we do on this? Lineage. What are we doing? Lineage search.new. Unknown params specified. Search.family. Okay, so it's pulling up both of those things. I kind of have to know how it's using them. Query, killer query. Player ID. Right, because these might be people that are outside of the family. So we might need their names. It's not just a flag. Oop, I think I copied too much there. Okay, so that's the graph. Okay, and that pulls up a graph. Hmm. Now I'm wondering if maybe I should have just some very, very high level tests. Oop. Well... So there's all the unit testing, which is usually where I like to test. But this is more like, does the app work? This is kind of at controller level. So mini test, Rails specific. So it generates generated path. A response comes from with a specific status code. Well, status code would kind of be the big thing. Action support, mailer view job. Oh, I wouldn't necessarily want to use a test database for this. I understand why you'd want to, but a lot of this is, well, maybe you could use a smaller data set. But it's mostly queries, so... that probably could speed it up a little bit. System test. Visit assert select. I'm not sure that's going to be quite right because we're doing more of an API thing. I mean, visit might be about right. We're looking for a data response. Maybe integration. Get, well, there's still a assert select. This is probably might be more. Assert response redirect, follow redirect, assert response success. That might be about the level at what I'm... Functional tests for controllers. Assert response success. Okay, so this isn't... What is the integration part of that then? Maybe view rendering? And some of that did involve the view a bit. Ah, okay. Get XHR true, assert, response body, media type. So then that's stuff in the controller. Flash notices. And this is just do the routes generate things. As much want to do this to just document what URLs I'm using. I think those are the main ones. Routes, lives, only index, monuments and servers. Actually, those probably are about the two we're using. So integration testing. Functional tests for controllers. Was the web request successful? So that's the thing to test. Test units. That's a test for a scaffold? So test controllers. Action dispatch integration. So a controller test is an integration test. So we've got family trees, servers, lives, monuments, applications. Oh. Okay. We got a free one. Got a couple free ones. Nope, nope. Controller test. Oh, no, that was the only one. Looks like cleared out their others. All right, so we've got that. Oops. This is using route generators. Oh, is it even still called points? And we've got a point presenter. Yeah, so this is actually there isn't a points controller. I did not open another window for you. Is it? Yeah, lives controller. So things we would be interested in. Well, this is where I kind of have to know what the possible searches are. So you would do. So a search like this. Would do server ID. We would give it a start time. Ah, it hadn't come back yet. I'm to have something funny going on there. And we're going to have to set up our database for this. So let's see. That would be a standard query. I don't even know what that comma is doing. I presume it's getting ignored? That is on query generation. So that is, what's another project? Map. Notes. That's a little bit weird. And for test purposes, I mean, mainly I was trying to clear errors. After a local variable, interpret as a binary operator. It's the database console. I may have actually been in a console here. There we go. Now this is probably still be hooked up to the test database, which has nothing in it. Migrations are still pending. Or maybe it's more of an environment thing. Or database YAML. Okay, that was successful. Let's see, so what other kind of searches do we have? We've got... Technically, there are some other arguments. We might do it... I don't know if that's going to look any different. Oh, is it still going? Oh, okay. So server start time, end time. Yeah, it doesn't look any different. Arc is probably going to come down to times 2. That's going to be that. There's the eaves only query, which is just going to be another parameter. And chain equals 1. Okay. I think that's all the different kinds of queries you can get. Then you've got name query, which actually I kind of had that up over here, right? Well, I was sort of faking the exact format of it and doing only what we needed. Q equals limit. Yeah, it's not that different. Q equals, let's be a little bit of a longer one. All right, there's name search. What was I thinking of? Oh, and hash search. I'm pretty sure it's still going to be a queue. But it will hit a different path. Right now, well, first of all, I have to get off my current provider because we're at 8 million lives of the 10 million allowed rows in my current plan, after which the cost goes up considerably. And having removed that limit, I have other options for organizing the database than just lives to try and keep that at its minimum. So what I'm looking at right now is I can have a separate names table, which I've considered might be more efficient, and early tests are that queries are well, I wasn't paying super close attention to the numbers, but it's 300 some milliseconds instead of 500 some milliseconds, which is still kind of terrible. Maybe with a smaller table, it's more reasonable to take a look at that again and reconsider the types of indexes I'm using. Last time I was playing with different options, and the one I'm using turned out to be the best, but I think I've had it fail on occasion. Probably more of a timeout fail. All right, so we've got that. I think that's all of the types of queries we normally do. Then there is the family tree. Okay, and that's what that query looks like. Edit, test, controllers, family trees, controller test. And this really, I think, only has one kind of query. So this is going to be family trees URL, server ID, epoch 2, player ID, just pick one. Unexpected T identifier. Let's cover our syntax. Okay. It was a 400 bad request. Unknown parameter player ID. Ah, it's compressed player ID in this format. Because that's how Jason named it. All right, we've got a little bit of coverage on our basic requests. So all of the things we're using should not actually be failing. Oh, and I forgot to add my migrate last time anyway. All right, and the other task we have to do before we can confidently delete the names on the old table is going to be to get the import working with the new format. Which, given that we're getting on to lunchtime now, doesn't seem like a great time to start a new project. It might not be bad, but we've got to do that. We've got to then do a migration to remove the column. And then there are some other restructurings I want to look at as well. Similar to compressing names, I think it might make sense to do a count hash table, because those are going to repeat over and over and over again, and they're, what, 32 or 64 characters? Something like that. So that would get some more big strings, which we're only using in search once again at the moment. So that's stuff we wouldn't have to process returning, since we're not currently, well, I guess we're using it in family trees for colors. We do return it sometimes. But so far it's been a win. Oh, you know what I forgot to look at? I forgot to look at non-search queries. Do I have any of those up right now? No. So that has a lot of other stuff going on. So it would be a query similar to that. This probably has to go in notes for now. And it's I haven't done anything. If I were to back that up, or back up the commit, all the old columns are still there. I don't think it would actually be bothered about the different database. I would have to, let's see, so currently we're running that site. Or grab just a raw query. So that was an eaves only, which is not the most normal circumstance. So if we take that and then, oops, lost an H. Oh, this is probably recent times. Yeah, this is now. I probably last updated this a few days ago. Okay, so a whole bunch of stuff, which you don't have in here. So you are also 500, and that is retrieving times, not doing a name search. Git checkout. Okay, that's comparable. There seems to have been no significant degradation from doing the join. All right, so that is in. And it's kind of in our process right now. Well, the host is sort of on hold. We've got separate tables as a project. We've got created names. We need to remove names from lives yet. We have updated name queries. Actually, it might just be dropping it now. We have we think we want to do accounts. Oh, the thing we need to do is import names to separate table. We have to kind of redo all that. Update any hash queries. Import hashes to separate table and delete hash from lives. Other things we can do when we've got that is perhaps look at one of the things I do with some occasionally look at some stats is time joined and time as of life, which is easier to do when you've got an easy reference to start date. That could kind of wait until a stats project. But having that there does make it easier to get that information as you're updating things. Instead of having to go do min start time and such, I think. Well, the time as of life could be pretty gnarly. That would probably turn into an import thing too. I don't know if that would work so well with the bulk import I'm doing though. Maybe you could do that with a big gnarly query. So that does that basic restructuring. It may help our name query times. Maybe with the string columns removed, that'll make it easier to look up records. I don't know how much work the database is going to have to do to make that efficient, though. It might just kind of ignore the space to avoid having to update things. However, if I do this and I'm able to upload the backup directly to the database, the new one might not have that structural history there. So that's the to-do list. Right now, I want to go get lunch. Oh, actually, it's not even lunch. This is one of those days I should do some Stepmania stuff. So, thanks for watching. Thanks, Rennie, for the bits. Support from the subs and everybody who hosted me. Let's see. It's a game jam. It's not a little bit different than what we're working on today. That's what I'm normally on. Let's see. That is some kind of web development stuff. I forget what he was doing with WordPress 2.11t. I think he was porting a website and had gotten pretty far. Well, that's probably the closest thing to what we got going on here. So if you're looking for someplace cool to hang out, Developer's Garage is working on his WordPress 2.11t project. That's someplace cool to hang out. Thanks for hanging out with me. Goodbye until next time.